Well, welcome to today's show, everybody. I'm not going to say just outside ourselves because this is actually a special kind of crossover episode with my new friends, Caleb and Nathan, who are part of the Theology on the Rise podcast. They have a few other hosts that do this podcast with them, and they're creating some really cool stuff. And we kind of figured out this summer that we were both doing very similar summer series, and so we decided that we should collaborate on an episode. So this is, for me, my last summer break episode. I don't know where I'll fall within y'all's lineup, but today we're going to be talking about the film Belfast. So with that, I'd love if you guys, if you want to intro yourselves, and then I guess I can follow suit for your audience as well. But tell us a little bit more about who you guys are and what you're doing at Theology on the Rise.
Yeah, so my name is Caleb, and I'm the guy who sits there quietly and has the beard. That is my role on the show. But no, my name is Caleb. I am good friends with Nathan and our other co-host who's not here today, Seth. And together we run Theology on the Rise, and also a sister show, which is on the same channel, Theology on the Screen. I'm actually the host of that. And as Kelsi mentioned, it was kind of a funny coincidence because I had been planning the show for a while, and I put out, I think, or we had finished making the first couple of episodes. Yeah. And then we saw on 1517, or we saw on Kelsi's socials, that she was doing this Outside Ourselves show, which is a very similar concept of like film and theology. And I was like, no, that's awesome. So we totally ripped her off. No, I know.
We both had the same brilliant idea at different times.
Exactly. Minds think alike. So
yeah.
So very excited to be here today and talk to Nathan and Kelsi about Belfast. I think it's going to be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and usually I'm Nathan. I'm one of the co-hosts of Theology on the Rise. Usually for Theology on the Screen, it's actually Caleb's brother Evan hosting this with him. Okay. But Evan could not be here for this episode, so I've stepped in to help host this episode on Belfast. But yeah, I'm Nathan, one of the co-creator of Theology on the Rise, along with our other buddy Seth, who will be returning for some more Theology on the Rise episodes in the fall. We're excited to this episode with you, Kelsi.
Yeah, well, I'm excited. Before I intro myself, I do want to ask, what's the goal with Theology on the Rise? Because I found it refreshing. I feel like you guys have similar aims as I do on my show. You're at least really interested in Reformation and Lutheran theology, if not Lutherans yourselves. But I think it seems like you are kind of communicating in a way that's not, you're not super worried about communicating Lutheran and all that goes into that for your audience. You're kind of allowing people to hear your discussions before they make their own conclusions about it. I don't know, that might be an assertion, but curious kind of what your goals are, because I found the way that you're presenting and the language that you're using refreshing in that regard.
Thanks. We appreciate that. Yeah, we would both call ourselves Lutherans at this point, along with our buddy Seth, but Caleb and I did not grow up Lutheran fully. So we both kind of understand being on the other side of the Christian spectrum of denominations, and can sympathize a little bit with where people are coming from when it comes to like disagreements on theology. So when we do our episodes, we try to keep that in mind, try to keep just people's views in mind, and try to answer questions if we can, but also do it in a way that's conversational and not super,
disarming.
Yeah,
I would say.
Yeah, not as formal.
Because that's very important. That's a very important value of ours. We don't want to isolate people. We don't want to alienate anyone from watching our show, because the whole point is that we want to like put a Lutheran voice out there, or at least contribute in some way, participate in the Lutheran voice of Christian, YouTube or whatever. We want to be a part of it, kind of thing. So that's kind of hard to do if we're pushing people away by,
Right.
talking or preaching at them about Lutheranism. The idea from the start has always been more discussion based. Like we're having a conversation about this concept or that concept, or what is justification, what is sanctification. We want to share these ideas, and we really want to reach out to a non-Lutheran audience and kind of expose people to Lutheranism. Really is what it is. Because we know people like Nathan comes from a Baptist background. I come from a Baptist background, and I got a lot of friends who are not Lutherans. I got a lot of friends who don't know what Lutheranism is. So
right.
That's a big part of it. Is we want to like present this in a way that is engaging and interesting, that our friends can put on in the background and listen to while they're at work or whatever kind of thing. It's always it's kind of like intimate in that way, where it's like, I want something that my friend or who doesn't have the faintest idea, who thinks that Lutheranism is Catholicism. Like I want that guy to be able to benefit from this. So.
Yeah. And just to know, like, this Lutheran theology, we love the theology and we want to tell people about it. And also, I have found it's a place where my soul can be at rest, right? Because of things like extranos, which is Flames thing, or Outside Ourselves, which is your podcast name, right, Kelsi? So yeah, just proclaiming those things, because not only do we want people to know about Lutheran theology, but we also want people to be able to find rest in theology.
Yeah, for sure. And I share that goal and that desire completely, because it's not just that. I think, we would assert that Lutheran theology seems to be closest to Scripture, but like the whole point of Scripture is to get you to this place of comfort and rest and trusting in a God who has given you everything. And when you see Christian theology not doing that, that hurts my heart. It breaks my heart. I hate that people are in that place, because it's the opposite of what I think Scripture is trying to do. So, well, that's great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, for your audience, really quickly, I'm Kelsi Klembara, and I'm the online content manager at 1517. So I oversee most of the editing for our online articles. There's one section of our articles called Craft of Preaching that I don't edit, but everything else kind of runs through me, which I feel honored to do. A lot of times I just read amazing stuff and say, that looks great, we'll post it tomorrow or whatever.
Awesome.
But I also help. We have, some online article series. So I help develop those and then do a couple other special projects throughout the year. But I've been at 1517 since 2018 or 2019. And you've had some people on from 1517 already. But for those listeners who don't know, we're kind of an online theological resource site. We also host events, and our mission is to declare and defend the good news that you are forgiven and free on account of Christ. So really our ultimate aim is the proclamation of the gospel. We aim to tell people that they are forgiven on account of Christ, which also means that we have to rightly distinguish between God's two words, God's law and God's gospel. Yeah. So there you go.
Awesome. Yeah. No, we've really enjoyed having different 1517 people on, and it's funny that you mentioned Craft of Preaching and how that's the one that you don't edit, because that's one of the ones I probably use the most, actually.
Good. Hey, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
But yeah, there's so much good stuff on 1517's website. I use it all the time. So
that's great.
Take a look over there and find Kelsi's podcast.
Yeah,
but you are our favorite 1517 contributor.
That's right, Caleb. That's right. I will take it without question. I'll just take that compliment. Well, okay. The reason we're here today is to discuss the movie Belfast. What are your like initial thoughts about the movie. Do one of you want to kind of give us a summary of it? And I'm curious if you had watched it before we decided to discuss it, or if this was like your first watching of it.
Mm-hmm. Sure, I can give a brief summary along with my initial thoughts on the film. So I had never watched it prior to preparing for this episode, so it was my first viewing of the movie. I think it's pretty good. I think, like, of all of the movies that I've covered, I think this is one where the theological connections, or like the elements of theology and religion and Christianity, were the least forthright.
Mm-hmm.
Being said, like, I've covered movies like Silence, which is like explicitly very Christian, and Les Mis, which is again quite Christian inherently. So this was a good challenge, because I had to like examine the film and, okay, what is this saying, and how can I draw elements out of it there. So that was fun. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed the challenge of having to dig a little bit deeper, and my bad, let me just kick my microphone, and try to find things that were relevant to the discussion. So Belfast it's a story that takes place in Ireland in the at the very start of the Troubles, and the Troubles are basically this was like a civil war that occurred in Ireland for like 30 years, resulted in like a dramatic transformation of the country. It was primarily fought between two parties, or two political camps, and the movie kind of takes place as the Troubles are just starting, and it was ultimately like a fight about. I'm gonna like totally like not do any service to this like very complex topic, but
it's okay.
It was very much like
I wouldn't either.
It was a political battle ultimately, where you had one group that was saying this is what Ireland is, this is what Ireland should be, and the other one had a different idea. And painting with a broad brush, you had actually. I wonder if I have the notes. I can't remember the names of the camps, but one side was primarily Catholic and one side was primarily Protestant. So you had, in addition to the political dissent and the political, turmoil, there's a lot of religious turmoil, and that's very tied into the movie. The film takes place in this one neighborhood, follows one family. Specifically the son, Buddy, I think he's 9 years old or something like that. So the story is kind of told from his perspective, and he's watching how this strife within this political strife is tearing his community apart, where neighbors who were once friendly and on good terms are like at each other's throats now, and barricades are going up and patrols, and it's quite sad to see, that this political strife is tearing apart this otherwise peaceful and happy community. And you kind of see it through Buddy's eyes, but also through the eyes of the rest of the family. You get the adult perspective too, with the parents. And Buddy's family is Protestant, I believe, and they have friends, they have neighbors who are Catholic, and this political discourse is driving wedges between these longtime neighbors. I took the liberty of watching some behind the scenes stuff, and this film is directed by Kenneth Branagh, I believe is his name, and he himself is Irish, and so this is a very personal film for him, and
I think it's loosely based on his childhood too.
I read something about that.
Yeah, so a very personal film for him, and he kind of talks about how very big part of the culture where he grew up was community and togetherness and family, and so he personally felt the effects. His family felt the effects of this, like this political battle that was happening. Yeah, so the film just kind of follows Buddy and his family, and it's ultimately like a story of childhood, and just set in the backdrop of this conflict that's happening. So that's kind of the story.
Yeah, I guess it's not necessarily like a coming of age story, but in a sense it is. I don't know, because you're seeing kind of this loss of innocence from Buddy's eyes. But yeah, I really love Belfast, because I love was thinking about it as I rewatched it. Like, I think there's something about stories, and this might sound a little strange based on the summary you just gave, which is a correct summary, but there's something about stories that are very mundane and simple that I think are there. I really love stories like that because I think they can connect with our own backgrounds and our own emotions in a way that something like super crazy, like a superhero movie or a sci-fi movie can't necessarily. And that's what I feel like Belfast is doing, even though it's set against this backdrop of the Troubles, which is a very difficult and tumultuous time. It's really this story of this family and this community that's very simple and straightforward, and like I think the epitome almost of First Thessalonians 4, where it talks about leading a quiet life. Like that's what people are doing, is they're leading a quiet life. Obviously, they're coming into contact with this political strife and this this dissidence. But you know, if that was not the case, they would just be going about their business. And I think a lot of that, the beauty of that, is often lost for especially like my generation, millennials. I think we felt this need to make everything big and amazing and incredible. And I find a lot of beauty in seeing examples of people just like live out life, normal life.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's almost this like, it's a depiction of the quiet life being disrupted, right? This like, this just like, and wanting to go back to that. Right. And
yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I really, what struck me about it too was the simplicity of it. And even just the fact that it's like, it's an hour and 45 minutes filmed in basically just one location, like one street. I don't think, is there any scenes outside of that street? I don't think there.
You really don't see like the broader scale of the conflict that's happening. It's all centered on that one street, which was a brilliant choice, I think.
Yeah. Very, very zoomed in on this like street, family, and especially like Buddy. That's the life of Buddy. What is Buddy going through? And especially with this like political drama, but also in his own heart with this like religious tension of I'm Protestant. What does that mean on this Catholic street? And all this like, and all of this political drama is driven by, you know, it's somewhat religious undertones, right? And it's just like, what is this? What does it look like for me to be a Protestant in a Catholic community? And this is the life of Buddy. Like, what is he going? What is he?
Yeah.
What is he doing?
Yeah. There's also I think a large theme of identity in the movie. My favorite like relationship in the movie is between Buddy and his grandparents. And to me, they are the identity. Well, they're the stabilizers for sure for the family. And I think that they are the ones who are giving Buddy his identity. I mean, it's like explicitly kind of on the nose, that one scene, his grandfather's in the hospital and he says, let me see, I have it written down. He says like, who are you? You know who you are, don't you? You're Buddy from Belfast 15. Everybody knows you. It like makes me want to cry because it's this whole beautiful example of giving someone value outside of themselves, outside of anything that they can do. And I think that that's also something that is so lost in our society. Like we have this mentality or this thought that identity is what you discover. And for so much of history, and then obviously this is a very biblical idea as well, like identity was given to you. It was given to you by your family. And then even deeper, which I think that I would like to think that this is underlying his grandfather's speech. Underlying what your family gives you is, of course, what your creator gives you and who your creator calls you. So yeah, I love that. And it kind of, I think, cements for Buddy who he is as he's struggling with this, like, what is a Protestant? What is a Catholic? Like, you know, there's that whole funny dialogue with his cousin at the beginning where she's like,
Yeah.
Catholics have these names and Protestants have these names.
Yeah.
And they're like, and he's like, well, what if their name is Thomas? I know a Catholic who's named Thomas. And she's like, no, that's Protestant. So as he's trying to figure this out, he has this very stabilizing force in his family, and his grandparents who are like, no, this is who you are. And this is going to keep you safe. And this is true no matter where you go, no matter what you do. Yeah, I just find that really beautiful.
And there's like a part of the beauty of that is the simplicity of it again, right? Like this, like you are Buddy from Belfast, from the street, and in our own circles, like we've said, our own lives, we are children of God, baptized into Christ. That is the simplicity of our identity, and it's really highlighting that, which is cool. Yeah,
absolutely. And like going with that, it's very important. It's very important what his grandfather places his identity in. Like he's again, he says, you're a buddy from Belfast, and like this is your community, and these are your people, and this is your family. He doesn't say you're a buddy, the Protestant, who is on this side of the political spectrum. Our identity. That is so important because, like, I mean, we see all the time the tragedies that occur when we put our identity on the wrong things. So it's not just important that his identity came from outside of himself, but that it was placed in the correct thing, or at least not in something that's going to something that is worldly, like a political party or something that's like, because even like your buddy the Protestant, I mean, that kind of like that can open the door to a lot of strife with other Christians if we put our identity too much in the fact that I'm Caleb Sherbanek and I'm a Lutheran, and if I bury myself in that identity and not first and foremost, I'm Caleb Sherbanek, a child of God, saved and redeemed by the Jesus Christ, it's putting too much stakes in your party, in your side of the street or whatever, it can lead to a lot of disunity. And we see that play out in the film where, again, like you have a street of Catholics and Protestants and they become, just bitter enemies, in a lot of ways. So,
yeah. And I think that's, there's also this discussion of choice within that too. Because I mean, obviously you could also be given an identity that's wrong, but, so I think it's good to like consider what identity are you given and where is it coming from? Is like the source good or not? But to the question of like Protestant or Catholic, and then how that's especially in this film, I think that what the issue is it's wrapped up within this political situation as well. So like if you're Protestant, you will do these things. If you're Catholic, you'll do these things, and that is at the end of the day like a distinction that asserts the free will a little bit too strongly. I think asserts like our righteousness based on our actions over what's given to us in Christ. I don't know if that's clear as mud or not, but
that makes sense. That's really important to think about because like Caleb, like you guys have both kind of said, how often do we do that in our own lives, right? Just so we're so quick to, I am Nathan and I am a framer. Yeah. I am a
kind of fill the Instagram bio with all of the things that you are.
And those are the identities that we choose, right? And the reality is we are given an identity. It is not something that we just decide on our own or conjure up in some way. God has given us our identity. That's really important to highlight. What is?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
Okay. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
So one thing that I was really thinking about during the film, and this might be jumping too far, I'm not sure, was this like, I guess it kind of goes with the identity question, but I loved Buddy's comments on how, if you're Catholic, then you just need to go to confession, and then you
Oh my gosh, yes.
your sins are all forgiven, and you don't need to go to church at all, kind of thing. And then I feel like that comes up later when he's talking with his dad at the end of the film, and his dad's like, so we're gonna have to start going to confession. And it's interesting how like it's almost like a joke at the end of the film, but when he's actually in it, it's this big thing. And I wonder if that's kind of like, you kind of see the shift in identity over time and what's attached to that identity. And I don't know. What did you guys think about that? Is that, I thought that was kind of a cool little thing that they added in there, but yeah.
I think he's trying to figure out, he has all these, I mean, they're not like explicitly stated, but he has like some pretty big theological questions based on the sermon that they show.
Yeah, that comes up multiple times.
Yeah, from his pastor, preacher at the Protestant church, who's, you know, preaching this fire and brimstone sermon about choosing the right road, the narrow road or the straight road. And Buddy's super confused by that, because he's like, so I think what I would say is happening is I believe what they're trying to imply is that the pastor is saying, like, if you're Protestant, choose the narrow road, which is also tied up in these political issues. So in the sense, he's tying together not only this political identity, but this choice for salvation. And then Buddy's trying to kind of figure out like what choice he should make. And he sees, you know, in contrast to this, Catholics he hears like can just be forgiven and then be fine. So that seems probably pretty enticing to him, but he still, I think, wants to do the right thing. And then at the same time, I think what the film kind of asserts towards the end, and I don't know if this actually gets to your question, but you see that Buddy's parents actually do have this really big decision to make. Like they are trying to make the right decision, and it's really difficult, and it's really not clear whether they should stay in Belfast or leave. And they're actually split on it for a while. Like the mom really wants to stay, the dad wants to go. And I don't know, from that, for me, I took like, it just reminded me of like the way that as Christians, like our decision making gets all tied up, and we confuse like normal everyday decisions as an issue of salvation. Which I think is what the pastor is doing and what Buddy's kind of trying to like unravel, when in reality, an actual picture of Christian vocation is what the film finally shows us at the end. This mother and father who have to make a difficult decision. It's not like it comes easy, but they do it, and they're not doing it tied up in like, is this going to, where does this put us before God? But really like, what is best for our family? And I think in that way I actually think in the film, it kind of like they are given a decision that's pretty clear. But I don't think that's always true in life. And, but I do think they are able to make like the best decision for their family, because it's made in like reality and in the practicalities of their family, instead of like this abstract, if we do this, we're going to go to heaven. And if we do this, we go to hell. I don't know. That was a lot, but,
no, that's good.
Yeah. There's a lot of just beautiful, I think, practical examples of what Christian vocation can look like in this film. Like the dad is, the dad and the mom are the providers. They don't always get along, like they fight, but they're trying to make these really difficult decisions. And the dad's really patient with the mom to come to his side. And then I think too, another beautiful thing that happens is the mom like her identity is so tied up in community. She does not want to give that up, but she ultimately sacrifices that for the good of her family, which is really cool. So
as mothers so often do.
That's right. Sometimes the sacrifice is probably just done to us, you know, but that's part of it. You're kind of carried along carried along in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a good, excellent point. This is not that into any theological point, but I resonated so much with that line that the father says to the mother when it's like around Christmas time, which was a time that they had decided we're going to make this decision by Christmas. Are we staying in Belfast or are we leaving? And, Buddy doesn't like the idea of leaving at all. Like, he throws a temper tantrum kind of thing. And he's also tied up in the place where he is, his community, maybe in part because of what his grandfather told him, that you're Buddy from Belfast 15. He doesn't want to leave his home and his people and that girl that he likes and so on and so forth. Right. Anyway, but there's a fantastic line from father to mother where just a beautiful moment of, I suppose, because as much as the father is like a leader and he's making this difficult decision or pushing for this decision for the good of his family, he works in England and he's gone for like weeks at a time kind of thing. And he just has this great moment of beautiful, I don't even know what the word is, but he tells his wife, something to the effect of you raised these boys.
Yeah.
Not us, not me, but you did. And I think that's something that
he says, thank you.
He says, thank you. And it's just like, I mean,
it's a moment of like humility too. Like you see, so I think it's a beautiful picture of what a father should be, of, like you said, being the provider and leader, and yet also acknowledging like
a lot.
Being away and acknowledging what that can do and the cost of that, and encouraging his wife in that, I think. What did you guys think of the fact that it's filmed in black and white?
I couldn't figure out why.
I was just thinking about that, and I wonder if tell me what you guys think about this, but I wonder if it's part of that like simplicity kind of theme. And then even like, because there are a few scenes when there's entertainment where like you see the people in black and white seeing color. Went out to the movies a few times, and then also during a play. And it's a really interesting decision, but I wonder if it's like, because we were also talking about how like this is kind of close to the director's heart. And I wonder if he's almost like reflecting on simplicity and the complexity that came with like, I don't know, entertainment and those things. I don't know if that's what it is. Just tell me what do you guys think?
I think that's, I actually found a quote. I'll be very honest. It's a quote from the director, but I didn't find it directly from him. It was like someone quoting it in a review. So take it with a grain of salt. But he said apparently, on the question of why did he film it in black and white? Because I remember the past in black and white, and it enables me to present subject matter in infinite shades of gray, which is really interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I think but I do think as far as the color goes, I wonder, because all of those scenes have to do with like going to the movies or plays. And since he became a director, like maybe that was where, as a child, like he really felt alive and inspired.
Definitely could be. For me, it's just like very nostalgic. It's you're looking back on the past, and the past is often, in media shown in like black and white kind of thing. I like that about the multiple tones of gray. And I think that's, the film definitely takes more of like a nuanced, like the film doesn't side politically on the conflict that's happening. It doesn't take a side. It just kind of presents it as it was and how it affected this particular family. So even in the not choosing a side, it's kind of operating within like a gray area. I think it's just more very honest, for one, because these things are so often convoluted and complex, and I don't know what's the right choice. Like, how can you possibly know what is, like, you have your biases and your own convictions kind of propel you in a certain direction, but you can't objectively say that, something as complex as that is objectively right or objectively wrong. Yeah. It's just
Yeah.
there's a lot of nuance happening there.
There is a lot of nuance.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to keep bringing it back to Vocation, but I think it is like to me, it showcases that there's so much, as Christians, of course, there's objective good and evil, right and wrong, for sure. But I think that when like rubber meets the road, as far as how we live out our love of neighbor, there is gray there. And there's also sometimes like impossible decisions that you have to make, knowing there's going to be a sacrifice, someone's going to be hurt no matter what. And so I think it kind of speaks to that as well. And I think what's interesting too is that the decision that the family ultimately makes isn't really like on a political side either. Like they stay pretty politically neutral the whole time.
Right.
If not completely neutral. Like their decision is more on the grounds of like, do we stay neutral in Ireland, or do we stay neutral, or do we leave completely and start over, and what's best for our family in that situation? Right. So yeah.
And it's admirable, the attempt made on the family's behalf to stay neutral, because as the film portrays, staying on the fence is not a enviable or people don't want you to stay on the fence. Like you face constant pressure. We face constant pressure in our everyday lives, politically, whatever, to make a choice, to pick a side.
I'm an American, so
I'm an American.
I know exactly how that is.
I'm a conservative. Like you're
right.
You're blue or you're red.
Yes.
It's there isn't and that is explored in the film through that character of, I think his name is Billy, and he's hounding the father character to join the cause. Yep. You have to join the cause. Think of me. Think of your lifelong friends who are, and he uses their shared Protestantism against the father. If you're a true Protestant, this is where you fall, and that again comments on just how messy it becomes when religion is like at its core wrapped up in a political issue. It's like you can't draw the religious elements out of this issue because it's so inherent to the problem. And it just becomes so messy and complicated, and the father has to deal with this guy who is, just hounding him to choose a side, and getting his, subverting his authority, and like getting his kids to do different things for him. Right. And just that violation where, now this is hitting really, really close to home. And this is interfering with my way of life and stuff. And do I cave in? Do I cave to the pressure, or do I stand firm? But from the world's perspective, that would not be standing firm. That would be cowardice, because you're staying on the fence. You're refusing to choose a side one way or the other.
It's kind of going back to that whole identity conversation. Yeah. Like, is there identity in the political party, or is it in just you're from Belfast, right?
Yeah. And and then it's like the practicalities of like, okay, if I don't join a side, what does that mean for my vocation to my family, like for those closest neighbors to me? There's actually some parallels, I think, between that whole situation in this movie, that narrative theme, and Terrence Malick's A Quiet Life, which I know you guys are doing. Are you guys covering The Tree of Life?
Tree of Life, we did, yeah.
Okay. Have you seen A Quiet Life?
I have not. No.
Oh my gosh, it's so good.
Is it good? I gotta watch it.
It's so good. It's about it's a true story. It's based on a true story of a man who lives in Austria and refuses to fight for Germany during World War II,
Okay.
and that what happens to him because of that. And it's like the decisions in Belfast to the extreme. And he, like what happens because he decides to go with his conscience and what that means for his family and all of that. But similar themes of like, there are real life, I'm sure that there were people in Austria and Germany who, of course, there were people in Austria and Germany during World War II who fought for the Nazis because they didn't want to die and they didn't want to leave their families abandoned. And that's, I understand that. Like, I can totally, I don't know what decision I would make in that, in that circumstance. So, again, another kind of gray vocational area, I think.
Interesting.
And I'm really glad that the film itself, like the father, like the family, decided to stay neutral on the subject, because the purpose, it's not a political piece. That's not the purpose of it. That's just like the politics that are happening are meant to show us certain things, right? Like they're a tool to explore certain ideas of choice and vocation and identity and all these things. And the film lands, it stays neutral throughout, and it ends on a neutral note. I like that conversation between the father and Buddy at the end. They're talking about this girl that Buddy likes, and the family at this point has decided to leave Belfast, and Buddy's wondering if he's going to see her again. He's wondering if they have a future together because she's Catholic and he's Protestant, and the movie has been showing us that there's, it's becoming harder and harder to maintain friendly relations between these two groups. And I like what the father says to him there, where, he says, and then, like, me as a father, I probably wouldn't give this exact advice to my son who's facing the problem. But he says he stays neutral. He chooses he chooses tolerance in that moment, and community, where he says, I don't care if she's a Hindu or a or a Southern Baptist or a what is it, like a vegetarian antichrist, I think he says. As long as she's good and she's kind and you respect each other and these things. And again, like, that's not the exact advice that I would give to my kid
in 2025. No, but it makes sense. It's in that
context.
In that context, in that moment, given the situation they face, where choosing a side means, that you're making this call on people that does not need to be made, that they're evil and you're good or whatever. He gives that advice, which it makes total sense.
And in that making a choice, making a very important choice. Only his choice is deeper than, what side of the political spectrum are you on? He's choosing tolerance, and he's choosing family and love for your neighbor, and that's the vocation that he's trying to live out, and he's been trying to live out the whole time, and he's trying to impart on his son. It goes into a little bit looking at the grander scope of things, where you're looking beyond this as a political issue, and you're looking at it as a human issue, like a something like humanity. Like, you're looking at it from a humanitarian perspective, where it's like, it's more important that you love your neighbor. And that in itself is a critical choice.
He's really separating that political view and like moral value kind of thing. And that's an interesting conversation to have, because it's something that I think many countries could use nowadays, is this message of just separating political and your beliefs and values, because your political parties are probably not going to align very well with your with moral values, even if one goes more than the other, right?
And I think, I don't know how deep we want to go into this, but I think like politics are a working out of the law, right? Like politics, I think I would assert that the ultimate aim of politics is to curb really almost like first use, like curb sin. That's what we want them to do. And so they are not only limited in scope, but they're limited as a very temporal thing. Like we do, that's why we don't put our trust in princes. That is going to flee. And, morality is also a working out of the law, but I think Christian love, and this can get a little bit messy, but like when you know your identity in Christ, when you, are rooted in that, we trust that the Holy Spirit is going to do good works through us, which are out of Christian love. And I think that that's going to line up with morality as it's presented in Scripture, but it's like a much more practical thing, I think, throughout life than we want to make it. We want to like deliberate and create this scheme for how it should work, whether it's through the political or through some like ethical structure.
Yeah.
And I think loving your neighbor really is like just a lot more practical than that. A lot of times it's just like making decisions, but it's not like spending so much time deliberating this abstract way to get to the good. It's just doing like the next thing that's in front of you. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. That some of this conversation on identity has actually, I've been reading this book. I'm going to do a 1517 plug really quick.
Do it.
Been reading this book called Saint and Sinner.
There you go.
And in the book, he talks a little bit about how he uses the analogy of a tree as a fruit tree as your identity, and how you are not the fruit of the tree, you are the tree. Even if an apple tree isn't producing apples, it's still an apple tree. And you could probably go as far as to say something like, on top of that, if at the same time, if you're not producing apples, how are people around you going to know that you're an apple tree, right? But that doesn't change your identity. You are an apple tree, and out of that comes your vocational works, right?
Yeah, that's great. It's a great book. Everyone should read it.
Everyone should read it. It's awesome. And I think you have an episode about it, actually.
I do, yes. I have an interview with Luke that's already out, so listen to that too.
Yeah.
Oh, anything else before we wrap up? Final thoughts?
I got a question. I like to ask this question on Theology on the screen at the end of the episode, kind of thing. I think I love to insert myself into everything. So my question is there a particular character that you found that you resonate with, or that you found to be relatable? I think it's an interesting question, because I think you inevitably kind of insert yourself into the story that you're watching unfold on the screen. I think that's why we create relatable characters in our movies. We don't want someone who's like totally unrelatable, because the audience can't relate. But I just think it's a good question, because it kind of helps to illustrate how you were personally affected by the movie or the piece of media or whatever it is, and what it did for you, kind of thing. So if you guys are cool with that, I think that's, I'd like to hear your thoughts. I'll give you a chance. I'll give you a second to think it through. Interestingly, the character of Billy, as kind of repulsive of a person as he is, like, I think the father describes him as, he says, "You're not a true Protestant, you're a jumped up gangster." And I think that's exactly right, where this guy is, he's kind of just been a bully his whole life, and he's still a bully, and he's using his religion to kind of manipulating that and twisting that for a political aim. But behind that, there is he's placed his identity so much in his country and in his identity as a citizen of Ireland. And, you know, he's totally in the camp of, we gotta, you know, and he's even he's participating in the violence. So he's really a reprehensible character, but behind that is a very, you know, he's got very strong core values when it comes to country and, you know, citizenry and what it means to be, again, placing his identity on the wrong things, which me, myself, I so often do. I find that the most damaged characters are often the most relatable ones for me when watching something. So you know, as again, reprehensible of a character as he is, like there's something really powerful driving him, and he has a very strong, like, sense of duty and code and whatever it might be to what he's fighting for. And I'm someone who I'm all in or I'm not in at all when it comes to anything. It's I can relate to the passion and the drive. God forbid I ever start, you know, subverting people, Catholics and firebombing streets and stuff like that, but punching guys in the face. But I found myself, well, the fall of Theology on the Rise. But I found I kind of, I don't know,
related to him. Yeah,
related a little bit to that.
Yeah.
I think I have mine. If you're
I'm done. Yeah,
go for it.
I was thinking about just a few specific instances, but I think in a lot of ways I did relate to Buddy, and especially in just his like wondering about after that sermon, and wondering about the two different ways that what choice he should make, kind of thing, and just being attached to the identity of, you know, one specific group, Protestant, and what does that mean compared to Catholic. And like I don't relate to those exactly, but I can relate in the way of just like wondering those things myself at times. Like, you know, how do I go about this decision of what does it mean to identify as a child of God instead of a Baptist? Or, you know, I said at the beginning I would call myself a Lutheran. But even is that the right way to say that, right? Like, is that it's a helpful thing because it helps you to know like what my theology probably is, but it can also, if it goes too deep, it can be something that is, like we've talked about, becomes your identity, and that's not always a good thing because it's something that I've chosen and not something that's necessarily been given. And so I relate to that in some ways, and Buddy's struggled with that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I have two answers. One is not necessarily to the question you asked, but I guess to the character I probably relate to the most. I mean, probably the mom, just because that's like the stage I'm in too. And I think that she's, you see like how a mom has to make really difficult decisions, and how much she cares for her kids, and how much she cares for her larger family. She doesn't want to leave that, you know, support network and what that means. And I think, to be fair to her too, she talks at one point about if they go to England, like what will that mean for her kids as far as like how people see them and treat them. And that's such a great question as a mother. So I relate, I think, to all of those kind of concerns about like, what impact are my decisions going to have on my kids? I worry about that all the time, of course. But I probably don't relate to him, but I love the grandfather. I think that he's like amazing. I think I've already said, like, I think him and the grandmother are like the stabilizers, and I love their interactions, their dialogue
Very
back
sweet.
and forth is so funny and sweet and heartwarming. And my favorite line, one reason I love him is because he is this identity giver. And I think he's able to do that because he's so, again, this is a little bit of an assumption, but I think he's so like sure of where he's going and who he is himself. And as a Protestant, I would like to think that that's, totally tied up in Christ's work for him. And he says when he's the last scene with him, the dad and Buddy and him are talking in the hospital. This is right before he dies. And they're telling him that they're probably going to leave Belfast. And Buddy asks, will you be here? Or where will you still be here in Belfast? And he says, and the kind of the implication of that question is like, are you going to be alive? And the grandpa says, I'm going nowhere. You won't find me. And that to me is like this assertion of, I know where I'm going and I know where you're going to be at some point too. Like he's kind of almost passing down this assurance of salvation for his grandson of like, we're going to end up in the same place. And I like both times I've watched the movie, I cried when he said that. I just think it's beautiful. So
it is beautiful. Yeah. It's incredible.
Well, awesome.
Yeah. Awesome.
Anything else? I think we covered it.
I think we did.
Yeah.
Is this a longer conversation than what you normally have on your channel, or?
For this series, it's a little bit longer, but that's fine. And then for my normal episodes, it's perfect.
Perfect.
So,
yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, y'all. So glad to chat with you a little bit, and I'm excited for people to listen. So appreciate your time.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Kelsi. We have enjoyed getting to talk with you.
Awesome.
Absolutely. It was fun.